Hello everybody, this is Ajay from iQuanta-Patna. How's everybody doing? Are you working hard or hardly working? Well, as you're preparing for CAT, you must have come across Parajumbles. Parajumbles, sometimes they are difficult to solve. So let's talk about Parajumbles today. What are Parajumbles? Parajumbles are basically sentences, few sentences put together in random order in a paragraph. Basically, they are not meaningful at that time, but then we have to rearrange those sentences in such a way that they make a meaningful paragraph. They provide meaning to the paragraph. So let's talk about it, and I would like to give you some tips about how to address parajumbles. So let's get on with it. First of all, the strategies and techniques that you need to apply in order to deal with parajumbles. The first one, when you see the group of sentences, you try to identify the opening sentence. Look for a sentence that introduces a topic, provides background information, or sets up the context. So basically what you're looking for is introduction of a topic, maybe an event, a concept. Opening sentences often contain general statements or definitions. So it could just define something and start the paragraph. Consider sentences that introduce a person, place, or concept. It could start with the name of a person or some organization, any entity in the society. So that is the cue to select that as the first statement. Secondly, you have to look for mandatory pairs. What are mandatory pairs? These are pairs of sentences that follow each other. There's a connection. They're interlinking. So what are the things that you'll look for? These are sentences that logically follow each other and closely related in meaning. So basically, they add to each other's meaning. Look for transitional words like however, but, therefore, or in fact, which signal connections between these sentences. So these are the words that you have to look for, and if you find them, obviously you can find the link. Identify sentences that build on each other, such as sentences explaining a previous one. So it could be a cause and effect kind of a thing, one thing leading to another, and those sentences have to be put together in order to explain it. Next, we move on to use transition words and logical connections. Pay attention to transition words. Some of the words they'll carry forward to the other sentence, so you can relate that there's an extension of the idea going from one sentence to the other. Now, look for pronouns, antecedents to understand how sentences refer back to or build on previous ones. So whatever happened earlier and what happens next, if there's a connection, those sentences have to be put together in order to make the paragraph meaningful. Consider the overall flow and coherence of the paragraph, ensuring that each sentence contributes logically to the main idea. Now, what the main idea is, what the sentences are talking about. So what are they referring to? So we have to see the flow, how the information is flowing. Is it meaningful? Coherent, that's what it means. So is it meaningful? And is it logically placed? So after that, number 4, practice and mock test. So you can practice solving parajumbles. The more you practice, the better it'll be for you. Practice makes perfect. And mock tests in such an environment where it is like the test environment, so that you can feel the pressure as well. So you have to do the mock tests and the practice, and then you have to analyze your results and you have to learn from it. Next, understand the topic. Familiarize yourself with common themes in parajumbles such as politics, literature, or education. Read a variety of material. So basically, you have to read a lot of things anyway in CAP for reading comprehensions as well. So you keep reading, you read quickly, you try to basically understand the passage or the paragraph as quickly as possible so that you'll have time to answer the questions. So now let's deal with a couple of examples of parajumbles. So let's see. Here I have a parajumble that contains 5 sentences. They are obviously randomly placed, and we have to set them in such a sequence that they become meaningful. This is about actually finance. It's related to finance, the banking, the repo rate, the Reserve Bank of India, and the commercial bank. So basically, how things work between them. So it deals with those things. So let's start. Read the sentences. It is not surprising that the targeted long-term repo rate or operations to auction failed. The fundamental problem facing the financial system is risk aversion. Why will banks borrow more money at 4.4% when they have trillions deployed at 3.7%? The risk aversion is due to fundamental breakdown of trust. Banks are flush with liquidity. They have 7 trillion currently parked with the Reserve Bank of India, RBI, and the reverse repo window at 3.75%. So what this problem is dealing with is the situation where the banks have this repo rate that it's the interest rate that when they borrow money from Reserve Bank, they have to pay that interest. That's the repo rate. And this is basically ascertained during an auction where the banks bid for the interest rate and accordingly it's determined. So in the first sentence, it says, it's not surprising that the targeted long-term repo rate auctions failed. So this does not start the sentence basically because it is talking about an outcome. Say the repo operations auctions, they failed. So let's look at the other sentences. And when we look at the second one, the fundamental problem facing the financial system is risk aversion. I believe this is a potential first sentence. It has the introduction part. It's the problem. It's dealing with a problem. That is risk aversion. That's the fundamental problem in the financial systems. So that could be one. Rest, there are questions, and obviously there are details. So I would say the first sentence would be the fundamental problem facing the financial system is risk aversion. As we go along, we see, okay, what happens when there's risk aversion? What is risk aversion? Risk aversion is when you avoid risk, when you don't want to take risk, because obviously you don't want high returns at the time. There could be many factors influencing your decision. So risk aversion is basically to avoid risk. That means you do not invest in risky funds. So if there's risk aversion, what happens? Banks are flush with liquidity. That means there's enough cash flow, there's enough cash with the banks. So from this sentence, the second sentence, number 4, is logical. It's telling you the situation when they are having this problem of risk aversion. Banks are flush with liquidity. Now, let's get on with the next one. They have 7 trillion currently parked with the Reserve Bank of India in the reverse repo window at 3.7%. So what is the reverse repo window? Reverse repo window is when the commercial banks loan the money to the Reserve Bank at an interest rate. So that happens when they have surplus cash and they want to keep it with the Reserve Bank and earn some money from there. So that is the reverse repo rate. So they have $7 trillion already there. And then what happens at the percentage, 3.75%? The next sentence would be, it is not surprising that the targeted long-term repo operations auctions failed. Because it's talking about the auction where the commercial banks bid to get loans from the Reserve Bank of India. And that failed, so there must be a reason for it. So we go to the next reason, the next sentence, which describes the reason for it. Why will banks borrow more money at 4.4% when they have trillions deployed at 3.7%? Thus, risk aversion is due to fundamental breakdown of trust. So what it's saying is that banks have this risk aversion problem. What they are doing is they have a lot of cash. So that's the amount that is parked there with Reserve Bank, 7 trillion, currently parked with the Reserve Bank of India. And they are getting an interest rate 3.75%. So why would they go for the auction and take loans from Reserve Bank at 4.4%, which is much higher than what they're getting from there, and they'll have to pay extra money, and they already have the money with Reserve Bank, so they would not be interested in doing that, and hence the auctions failed. So here the answer would be, the first sentence would be 2, the second one 4, third one 5, fourth one 1, and fifth one will be 3. So 2, 4, 5, 1, 3. That will be the answer. Let's move on to the next one. Well, there's another one. This is also related to finance. This is about debt funds, and it's about the collapse of debt funds. So here we have 5 sentences. They are talking about the debt funds, and the sentences, let's go with the sentences. After having successfully created a huge market for non-AAA corporate debt, Franklin Templeton has now marked the death knell for credit risk funds in India. So now they are talking about AAA, non-AAA corporate debt. Basically, what are non-AA corporate debts? The rating that that debt funds get is based on how much risk they take, whether they have higher return, lower return. So when you have high return, the risk is more. When you have low risk, the returns are lower. But some people who are risk averse, they prefer lower return because they want their money to be safe. So non-AAA is a high risk fund because the way it's classified is AAA funds are very stable. They are the best quality funds. They are safe. Then you have AA, then you have A. Then the second phase is BBB, then B, and then B alone. So BBB, BB, and B alone, third. Last one, the third one is CCC, CC, and C. So there are 3 different divisions. And last one is D, that is default. That is basically you lose your money. C is also very risky. B is investment grade, BBB especially. Rest in the B section also are risky. But BBB is investment grade. But AAA is the best fund where you can invest, but your returns will be low. So here that's what they are talking about. Second sentence tells you, given the quality of assets and their current illiquidity, it is unlikely that people will recover the fund's stated net worth asset value, NAV, that is net asset value. The next sentence, the shutting down of 6 debt funds by Franklin Templeton is unfortunate at multiple levels. Fourth, the investors were largely retail and high net worth individuals, and their money is now stuck at least for 12 months, if not longer. The collective asset under management AUM of these 6 funds was over rupees 25,000 crores. So this whole thing deals with the funds that failed and what was the detail regarding those funds. So in that case, we'll first look at them, and here we see that we start with the problem. We start with the event that happened, something that happened that was basically unfortunate. The shutting down of 6 debt funds by Franklin Templeton is unfortunate at multiple levels. So it's starting with that. It's giving you a concept. It's giving you a problem, and it says at multiple levels, there were things that were wrong. So now, the second sentence, this would be the first sentence. The second sentence would be the net worth of those funds. So here it says the collective assets under management, mentor, AUM, that is assets under management, AUM stands for assets under management, of these six funds was over 25,000 crores. So 6 funds have failed, and there are things wrong. Obviously, many things went wrong, and they are telling you what the worth was. So 25,000 crores was the worth of these funds, the collective assets. They were worth 25,000 crores. Now, if we look at the rest of the sentences, we see that they tell you about the investors. What kind of people were there who had invested in those funds? So the investors were largely retail and high net worth individuals, and their money is now stuck at least for 12 months, if not longer. So now it's telling you about the investors. So these people were largely retail and high net worth individuals, and now they have a problem. Their money is stuck, and for at least 12 months. So it's going in a sequence. It's telling you about the collapse, then it's telling you about the net worth of those funds, then it's telling you about who invested, the investors, about the investors, and fourthly, I would say, given the quality of assets and their current illiquidity, it is unlikely that people will recover the fund's stated net asset value. So basically, it's telling that the kind of illiquidity, that means the cash is not there when it's illiquid. Liquidity is when the cash is there. So it's saying illiquidity that is there. It'll be difficult for these people to recover their net asset value. So basically, they'll be suffering loss and probably will not get the money that they deserve, or that is according to the net asset value. So that would be the fourth sentence, and the fifth one will be the conclusion that gives you the conclusion of this whole concept, saying after having successfully created a huge market for non-AAA corporate debts, that is very risky, obviously, non-AAA corporate debt, Franklin Templeton has now marked the death knell of credit risk funds in India. So it's giving you the conclusion that now it has created an environment which is basically that tells you that then the investment is not good enough. It is the death knell. It has basically collapsed and has suffered major loss. So this is what it is all about. It's about the funds, the debt funds, and these are related to finance. Both of them were related to finance. So I believe and I hope that you must have understood the concept, and the tips that I gave you, you should apply those while working with Parajumbles, and I'm sure you'll do wonderfully. So for now, I think let's call it a day, and I will see you again very soon. Take care. Thank you.